The lights of the CNN studio weren't just bright. They were electric, casting a charged glow over a set that promised routine policy talk, but delivered something far more combustible. Pete Hegseth, Fox News alumnus and nominee for Secretary of Defense, adjusted his cufflinks and struck a familiar pose in his navy blue suit, exuding the media-trained confidence of a man long groomed for prime time. Across from him sat Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, alone, composed, and surgically focused, a former public defender and prosecutor armed with documents and discipline, not sound bites. While Hegseth embodied the image of a polished warrior, favored by right-wing circles, Crockett came without handlers, fueled instead by court-honed instincts and an unshakable command of the facts. CNN producers, sensing the gravity in the air, scrapped their commercial breaks as Anderson Cooper introduced what appeared to be a debate on defense policy, but what quickly revealed itself as a political crucible. Phones lit up across the studio as body language told its own story. Hegseth reclined, smiling toward cameras, while Crockett leaned in, pen ready, eyes locked. What began as a clash of ideologies evolved into a stark test of substance versus spectacle, evidence versus ego. The control room buzzed. Viewers leaned forward, and what unfolded wasn't a debate at all. It was a reckoning. Pete Hegseth was in his element, or so he believed, flashing a practiced smile as Anderson Cooper opened with a soft question about military leadership. With the ease of a man on his greatest hits tour, Hegseth launched into familiar refrains: American strength, warrior values, ending woke policies. He gestured broadly, delivering punchlines with polished cadence, every line fine-tuned for conservative airwaves. But across from him, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett sat silent. No interruptions, no movement, just a focused stillness that was anything but passive. She wasn't impressed. She was calculating. Each buzzword he deployed became a breadcrumb leading to a truth he was desperate to conceal. He hadn't come to be questioned, and he certainly wasn't prepared to be challenged. Then the air shifted. Cooper turned to Crockett. She didn't raise her voice or rush. With calm precision, she began. Mr. Hegseth talks about understanding what it means to serve, but I've been reviewing his record. The room froze. Her questions cut deep and clinical. Had he ever led a team larger than 100? Managed a budget close to the Pentagon's $800 billion? Running the Department of Defense, she said coolly. Isn't like hosting a television show. Hegseth fumbled, listing TV crews and consulting gigs. Crockett blinked once, then delivered the blow. So, that's a no. No theatrics, just methodical, surgical prosecution. What had started as a debate quickly became something else entirely. A public cross-examination. The audience, once relaxed, now leaned forward, realizing this wasn't politics as usual. This was a reckoning, and it had only just begun. Pete Hegseth was still clinging to composure. Chin raised, voice steady. But beneath the surface, the cracks had begun to show. Across from him, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett turned a page in her folder with deliberate calm and posed her next question like a lit match. Mr. Hegseth, you were the executive director of Veterans for Freedom, correct? Yes, he answered, still riding the momentum of practiced pride. Crockett gave a subtle, knowing nod. Then perhaps you can explain what happened to the organization's finances under your leadership? The blow landed hard. Hegseth stumbled through vague mentions of administrative challenges, but Crockett had already stepped ahead. According to IRS tax filings, which are public, by the way, Veterans for Freedom nearly went bankrupt during your tenure. The air went still. The illusion of control began to dissolve as she tightened the line. Is that the kind of financial management we want at the Department of Defense? The audience was no longer watching a debate. They were watching a dismantling. And Crockett was just getting started. She shifted tone, set her papers aside, and picked up her phone. Let's talk about your views on women in combat, Mr. Hegseth. He stiffened, offered vague assurances about military effectiveness. But Crockett was unmoved. "Do you?" she asked, raising her phone for all to see. With a subtle nod, a clip rolled across the monitors, his own voice sharp and unmistakable. Asterisk, women in combat roles compromise unit cohesion and effectiveness. It's not about equality. It's about winning wars. Asterisk, the reaction was instant. Gasps, phones raised, real-time outrage online. Hegseth scrambled, claiming context. But Crockett didn't let up. "You're right. Context absolutely matters. And the context is that over 200,000 women serve in our military. Many have earned Bronze Stars, Purple Hearts. Some have died in combat. And this is how you value them." Hegseth opened his mouth, but nothing came. For the first time all night, he was silent. The man who arrived as a polished warrior was now exposed as a performer out of his depth. And Jasmine Crockett, steady as ever, had turned a national interview into a trial by fact. One the public would not soon forget. Pete Hegseth was already unsteady, his confidence visibly eroded, but Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett had saved her most damning evidence for last. With calm finality, she reached into her folder, not in haste, but with the quiet precision of someone placing the capstone on a towering argument. "Let's talk about your most recent leadership role," she began, voice even. "You were the CEO of Concerned Veterans for America, correct?" Hegseth nodded softly. "Yes." Then came the dagger. "And how did that position end, Mr. Hegseth?" The room went still. Even Anderson Cooper leaned forward. "I left to pursue other opportunities," Hegseth said, attempting his last line of defense. Crockett tilted her head and smiled. Not cruelly, but like a litigator who knew the witness had just perjured himself. "According to multiple reports and sources inside your own organization," she said, lifting documents, "you didn't leave. You were asked to resign." She paused, letting the weight of the moment settle. Allegations of financial mismanagement and inappropriate behavior. "Isn't that correct?" The gasp that rippled through the studio was immediate. Phones went up. Reporters in the back row typed furiously. Hegseth tried to dodge again. "Those allegations were never proven." Crockett didn't flinch. "But they existed. Serious enough to end your leadership. Serious enough that your own team no longer trusted you." Then, with clinical precision, she delivered the final blow. "You're asking the American people to trust you with the lives of 3 million service members. But every organization you've led either went bankrupt or removed you. That's not leadership. That's failure." It was over. Hegseth, once poised, now sat hunched, flushed, and blinking. The performance shattered, the media polish peeled away. Crockett calmly gathered her papers. The studio, stunned, erupted into applause. The camera stopped, but the political earthquake had only begun. Within minutes, #CrockettDestroys trended across social platforms. Her dismantling of Hegseth, from financial records to damning video clips, was repackaged into memes, reels, even mock movie trailers. CNN extended coverage. MSNBC called it a masterclass in accountability. Even Fox News floundered to control the damage. The fallout was swift. By morning, 3 Republican senators publicly questioned Hegseth's nomination. Capitol Hill buzzed. Democratic leaders praised Crockett as proof that preparation still mattered. Her social following exploded. Donations surged. But for Crockett, the moment wasn't about virality. It was about truth. And for the first time in a long time, the nation was listening. What began as a single televised debate quickly transformed into a cultural watershed. A moment that cut through the static of American political theater and reminded the country what real accountability looks like. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett's performance wasn't merely a viral takedown. It became a case study in precision, preparation, and the quiet force of facts. Law schools integrated her questioning into trial advocacy syllabi. College debate teams dissected her pacing and evidentiary tactics. Corporate leadership seminars cited her as a model for composed, high-stakes decision-making. But the ripple effects reached further. Veterans groups, especially those advocating for women in uniform, praised her clarity and courage. Military families, often unseen in policy circles, finally felt represented. She didn't just win the debate, one Army spouse tweeted. She honored our service. Even Satire paid tribute. Saturday Night Live recreated the scene, casting Hegseth as the archetype of the overconfident pundit undone by real scrutiny. Yet beneath the laughs was a sobering point. Americans are tired of watching unqualified performers elevated to positions of real power. On Capitol Hill, good government advocates demanded better vetting. Why had it taken a live broadcast to surface these red flags? Why weren't these questions asked before confirmation proceedings? In the days that followed, Pete Hegseth's nomination unraveled under bipartisan skepticism. Allies fell silent. Investigations into his past reignited. His future in public service dimmed. Meanwhile, Crockett rose, not as a partisan celebrity, but as a symbol of something deeper. That competence is not optional. That truth matters. That leadership is not theater. Her calm, disciplined takedown became a beacon for students, veterans, teachers, and citizens across political lines. One commentator summed it up. She didn't rely on zingers. She relied on evidence. And that, more than any viral moment, became the enduring message. Jasmine Crockett drew a line in the sand, not with bravado or volume, but with a folder, a pen, and the unshakable weight of truth. In doing so, she didn't just end a nomination. She raised the standard.